Is it really a Stray Kids comeback if we're not hanging on for dear life? It's September 2020 in the Chance Room rewatch, and episode 72 lands a week after In Life burst onto the scene. The backdoor music video is racking up millions of views, the boys are bouncing between stages, and stays are doing what we do best: clown-level theorizing, streaming, voting, and loving our boys fiercely. It's comeback season, and safe to assume that Staples' mood is at an absolute high because of that. But before we get into that, I feel like it's important to take a beat to acknowledge some turbulent moments that led up to it all. Despite the incredible success the kids were enjoying and the excitement of In Life's teasers, if I'm being totally honest, under the surface, the weeks leading up to this release had been filled with the kind of steady, grating, messy, inner fandom moments that make people question if they should take a step back from everything to protect their peace. To make matters even more challenging, though, this was also the week of fresh wave of serious accusations about a former member of the group hit the timeline, and things escalated even further when he issued a statement in response. I know this is something that a lot of us would rather not talk about, but it's also really important for us to honor what 2020 stays went through as we time travel together, because even though some stays had jangling nerves about whether they'd be able to match the energy and support that had come through for the kids with God's Menu, they really deserved to be able to run straight into In Life's release in full-on celebration. Instead, old wounds were reopened, and new revelations made healing those even more challenging for a lot of people. Stray Kids had unexpectedly become 8 almost a year before, and the writing had more or less been on the wall about how the kids felt about all this. They gifted Stays an entire album of re-recorded OT8 songs as soon as they possibly could, and Chan even skirted the notoriously strict rules of K-pop to make it as clear as he could that betrayal is what had been the bottom line in the end. I honestly can't mince words with this, because when this fresh wave of realizations was going down, Stays were frankly knocked sideways, pulled into a scandal no one wanted, scrambling not just to process the news that seemed to be compounding as the days went on, but also desperately trying to do damage control in online forums. It was an unmitigated mess, something that had everyone's nerves frayed as the days counted down to Go Live's release. And even though there were plenty of happy distractions, those were interspersed with fresh waves of realization and mourning. A lot of Stays who had up until that point been okay with listening to OT9 songs or watching OT9 content suddenly found their places of comfort weren't comforting anymore. And it's important to remember just how crushing this would have been at this moment. In 2025, it's easy to avoid old content if we choose to, but in 2020, that was still the majority of what Stays had behind them. It's not a topic that's enjoyable to bring up, and thankfully it didn't actually manage to take away from this release, but it's important for anyone doing time travel to know that this was a very big moment. This was a turning point when most people who had been holding neutral on the issue, or who had been outliers still offering support, decided that was behind them now. But here's the thing. We know for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. And even though Stays were tired and grieving and worried, this is when OT8 support became stronger than ever. At the same time, they were scouring their timelines, asking people to delete problematic posts and offering a shoulder to lean on for those who were struggling. Stays were making plans to make this the best comeback Stray Kids had seen yet, transmuting all that pain into love and support, the same way Stray Kids had always modeled that for them. Stays were doing their absolute best to hold their own through these challenges, but when the album intro video dropped, it really gave them something to hold on to. For those of you who've been around a while, you know these videos aren't just a simple pre-release teaser. There's something of an anchor, a sit-down invite from the kids to hear what they've poured into their new album and how they got there. This one hit harder than usual, not just because they were offering up a window into the work we so love and adore, but because there was an unexpected bonus that came out of this. An extension of that intro just called The Reason, where staff asked the kids questions like what certain members meant to them in particular, or asked for insights into their creative processes. But what's really special about this video is the way it wraps up with messages about Stray Kids and Stay together, how one can't exist without the other, how intertwined we are with each other. It was like without even knowing it, the kids were calling Stay back home to their safe haven with Stray Kids. A really precious reminder that was sorely needed at that very moment. And it ended up encapsulating the spirit of Backdoor, that open invitation, the wild call of that bell, a ringing that Stays can't help but respond to with an enthusiastic yes. This was the kids' second pandemic-era release, and by now the online offerings they had scheduled were less in-between makeshift solutions and more high-budget productions. Instead of teasing the album on V-Live from Chance Room this time, the kids joined Stay for an episode of Skiz Room live from their practice room, and followed that up with a jaw-dropping online Unveil. In Life's Unveil might not have had a live audience, but you never would have been able to tell by the energy the kids showed up with. By this point, the pandemic had been dragging on for 6 months. Stray Kids and Stay were missing each other fiercely, and there's this palpable rebellion in the air as the kids introduced the album to Stay, an almost tangible intensity that they brought to this offering. The kids knew their careers were at a really pivotal crossroads, but they also relied so heavily on that infinite power exchange with Stays to keep it all going. It's almost like knowing Stay couldn't be in the room with them, they decided to see if they could project the energy of it all the way to the ends of the universe instead. In case you can't tell, if you haven't watched this in full, you really should. You can grab the link for it in the notes below. Before I wrap up, can we just take a minute to kind of marvel at this being a repackaged album? I know it has songs on it that overlap with Go Live, but In Life stands on its own. And the reason it does that so effortlessly is because of the energy Stray Kids brought to the table. They're not just making incredibly addictive and innovative music and backing it up with intense performances. They're telling a story, their own story. And within Life, they're holding out their hand to Stay as well. Backdoor is an invitation, unlike any other, where they break the fourth wall of their megaverse, look Stay dead in the eye and ask, "Hey, you want to come in?" I know what my answer has been since the moment I heard that bell ring, and if you made it this far, I'm going to go ahead and guess you've answered the same. We said yes, without looking back, and have been part of that safe haven with Stray Kids ever since. We all show up in this shared space differently, and the Chance Room rewatch is just one of them. I hope you enjoy rewatching episode 72, sharing those moments, enjoying In Life's new tracks with our Channy, a pastime that's incredibly precious to Stay. I'll be back to yap at you next time about the lead up to episode 73. I'll see you then.